I found her bracelet in my brother's car. That little silver chain with her name, engraved on the inside, the one I bought for our second anniversary. Same one she swore she lost at work. I didn't cry, didn't scream. I just stared at it while my brother filled up the tank like nothing had just shattered inside me. My name's Evan. I'm 31, born and raised in Chicago. Now living in a 2-bedroom condo on the north side. I work in logistics. Nothing glamorous, just freight coordination for a mid-sized supply chain company. I like things to make sense, to follow a process. I like when people do what they say they're going to do, which is probably why I fell for Ava. She was everything I wasn't: free-spirited, unpredictable, full of fire and spontaneity, kind of woman who could talk her way out of a speeding ticket while somehow convincing the officer to donate to her animal rescue fundraiser. We met at a friend's 4th of July BBQ. I had grill duty, sweating over burgers and corn. She walked in, wearing a Cubs jersey and cutoffs, holding a watermelon in one arm and her phone streaming music in the other. She immediately changed the playlist, danced barefoot on the patio, and made everyone laugh within 10 minutes. I was hooked. Ava worked as a freelance event planner. She did weddings, corporate galas, engagement proposals, even funerals, once said. Every event deserves intention and style. She had this Instagram perfect life: latte art, golden retriever content, messy buns that looked like they took an hour to mess up just right. We moved in together after a year. Got a golden retriever of our own, Scout, split rent, shared Spotify, had a joint Venmo account for house stuff. Our dynamic was simple. I provided the structure. She brought the chaos. It worked, until it didn't. At first it was little things. She started working late more often, said her clients were demanding, weddings were unpredictable. It's totally fair. But she'd come home too tired to talk, or she'd disappear into long showers while texting someone. She laughed at messages she wouldn't show me. She used to ask me to review her pitch decks or help organize her bookings. Then one day that all stopped. Suddenly, her laptop had a password, and she never left her phone unattended. I convinced myself I was overthinking it. She was just busy. The economy was rough. People were canceling events last minute. Money was tight. We'd even argued once about Scout's dog food brand being too expensive now. And I caught her crying in the laundry room afterward. I hated seeing her like that, so I cooked more. Took over walking Scout, left notes for her on the fridge. You've got this. Proud of you. Let's do sushi Friday. Sometimes she replied. Most times she didn't. And then came my brother Caleb. Caleb's my younger brother by 3 years. He's always been the golden boy. Charming, athletic, social. He runs a detailing business and drives this beat-up black Jeep that he treats like a Ferrari. We weren't always close growing up. He was the wild one. I was the quiet achiever. But we reconnected after our dad passed. Weekly basketball games, weekend grilling, family stuff. He loved Ava, said she was too cool. For me, in a joking way, called us #couplegoals on Instagram. He'd come over, play with Scout, bring Ava her favorite IPA, and hang out while I finished emails. I trusted him completely. He was my brother. One Saturday, I needed a ride to pick up my car from the shop. So Caleb tossed me his keys and said, "Take the Jeep. Gas is low, though." I didn't think twice until I saw it. Wedged between the passenger seat and the door, a silver bracelet, oval chain links, tiny clasp, Ava engraved on the inner plate. The exact one I got her in Nashville from a street vendor, the one she said was stolen from her bag at a wedding 2 months ago. I sat there in his Jeep, parked at the Shell station, holding the bracelet like it might disintegrate if I breathed wrong. I didn't say anything. Not that day. I just handed him back the keys, went home, and stared at Ava across the couch while she scrolled TikTok like my world wasn't beginning to crack beneath us. That night, couldn't sleep. I lay there beside her, wide awake, listening to the soft whir of the ceiling fan while Scout snored at the foot of the bed. Ava was curled up under the comforter, her phone clutched in her hand like a secret. I stared at the faint glow of the screen as she scrolled through something, probably Instagram. Or maybe not. I kept replaying it, the bracelet, the lie. Way she never told me it was missing again. The way Caleb hadn't blinked when I gave him his keys back. I didn't confront her, not yet. Instead, I started watching. The next morning, I accidentally offered to help her do laundry. As I folded one of her sweaters, I found a crumpled receipt in the pocket of her jeans. 2 lattes, 1 almond milk, 1 oat, 2 breakfast sandwiches. Dated Tuesday. The morning she told me she had a sunrise yoga client across town, I didn't ask her about it. I started checking her Venmo. I shared one. She'd recently switched to using her private account for everything, claiming it was just easier. The shared account sat dormant, dead quiet, like our intimacy. I checked. The shared Spotify history, there it was. A late-night chill playlist streaming at 1:12 a.m. While she claimed she was working a rehearsal dinner out in Aurora, it wasn't our playlist. The name wasn't even familiar. One night, I pretended to be asleep and felt her quietly slide out of bed. I cracked my eyelids open just enough to see her sneak out into the living room. The blue flicker of her phone lit up her face. She was whispering into it. "Yeah, no, he's asleep. Of course I miss you too." I felt sick. I stayed awake the whole night, eyes burning, heart pulsing like it was too big for my chest. In the morning, I kissed her on the forehead like I didn't hear anything, like I hadn't already started unraveling. By now, I had my suspicions but no proof, and that's what Ava was good at, staying just vague enough. Always towing the line. One evening, I mentioned going to my mom's for the weekend. I hadn't actually planned to, I just wanted to see her reaction. "Oh yeah, you should go. I'll have the apartment to myself. Maybe I'll finally clean the closet," she said. It's too quickly. So I packed a bag and drove around for an hour before circling back and parking 2 blocks away. I waited in the dark with Scout in the back seat, heart pounding in sync with every shadow that moved. At 11:06 p.m., figure walked up the steps. It was Caleb. I saw his outline clearly the way he walks, like he owns the ground under his feet. He was carrying takeout in one hand, Thai food, probably Ava's favorite. He used the key I didn't know he had. I felt every bone in my body go still. Like I wasn't even alive anymore, just watching a movie where the hero gets gutted halfway through and the theater goes silent. They were inside for hours. Lights went on, music played. At 2:17 a.m., Caleb left. I didn't cry. I didn't rage. I just sat in the car until the sun started to rise, Scout's head resting on my lap, and I felt something in me crack open. I didn't want a dramatic confrontation. I didn't want yelling. I didn't want to be that guy who begged for an explanation. Wanted truth? So I waited. I needed one last piece. One undeniable moment. Something she couldn't gaslight her way out of. The opportunity came the following Thursday. Caleb texted me, "Yo, mind if I borrow your bike rack for a trip I'm doing with some clients this weekend?" I told him sure. Told him to swing by the apartment while I was at work. I set up the living room camera, the one Ava didn't know I replaced after. Scout knocked it off the shelf 2 months ago. I made sure it was recording. I left a 6-pack of his favorite beer in the fridge, and I left Ava's favorite hoodie, one I'd seen her wear when she thought. No one was watching, folded on the couch. By 4:30 p.m., they were inside, laughing. By 5:15, they were on the couch. Too close? By 6:02, they kissed. She ran her hands through his hair like she used to do to mine. He pulled her onto his lap like they'd done this 100 times before. And me. I watched from my phone in a parking lot 5 blocks away, feeling strangely informed it was real. It had been real the whole time. And now, I had it all. The thing about betrayal is, once you've seen the truth, you can't unsee it. It doesn't matter how calm someone speaks or how kind they act afterward, every smile feels like a performance. Every word like a script you've already read. I spent the next few days pretending. Pretending I hadn't seen Caleb's hands on her hips. Pretending. I didn't watch her lean in and whisper something that made him laugh like a man who'd stolen. Something and knew he wouldn't get caught. I cleaned the apartment, cooked dinner, picked up her favorite bagels, smiled when she asked me how work was, And at night, I lay awake beside her and planned every detail. Because here's the thing, people like Ava and Caleb, they count on silence. They rely on good. Men staying quiet. They assume forgiveness will always show up, even if it's limping. They forget that sometimes quiet men keep receipts. I started small. I printed the video frames from the moment they kissed, the timestamp visible. I wrote nothing. No message, no explanation. It's just screenshots, clean and clinical. Then I sent them to myself through Ava's work email, scheduled. It's set to go out Monday at 8:45 a.m. Subject line, thought you should know. Recipients. Ava's main client, the conservative couple she was helping plan. A 500-guest luxury wedding. Her business partner, Jenna, the one who always side-eyed. Me at brunch. And Caleb. I left the bracelet, the one from the G-Panner pillow that morning. Wrapped in a red velvet pouch, it's the kind you'd use for an anniversary gift. Next to it, I placed a note. Found this in your other life. You can keep it now. Then I packed my things quietly, surgically. I'd signed a lease on a new apartment. 2 weeks prior, downtown, near the Riverwalk, 1 bedroom, clean slate. I moved out while she was at her yoga class, deleted myself from the Wi-Fi, removed myself from every shared account, Spotify, Netflix, Amazon, canceled my half of the Venmo. Card took Scout, whose vet bills were under my name. Took the bed frame, it was mine. Left the mattress. She came home to an echo. She texted me, "Where are you then? What is this?" Then, "You're being dramatic." But I didn't respond, because I wasn't finished. Monday morning, I sat in my office, sipped my coffee, and watched the clock hit 8:45. 3 minutes later, Caleb called me. I let it ring out. Ava followed with a string of texts. "What did you do?" "You've just ruined my business. You don't understand. It didn't mean anything, but it did. It always does." By noon, Jenna had unfollowed her on every platform. The wedding client canceled politely, professionally, with a lawsuit. Threat buried in the tone. Her planner Instagram? Down to 600 followers in 2 days. As for Caleb, his detailing shop, once dependent on my logistics referrals and business clients, suddenly found itself dropped from every contract I'd ever sent his way. I didn't even have to badmouth him. I just made sure his name never got mentioned in the right rooms later that week. I heard he'd totaled the Jeep. Drunk. Alone. No insurance coverage. Should have felt something. But all I felt was relief. Because, here's the thing, my revenge wasn't rage. It was removal. It was silence. It was making sure they both knew I saw them. And I walked away not as a victim, but as a man who refused to bleed for anyone who'd already stabbed him. And I kept the video, not to share again, not for court, just to remind myself I'm not crazy, I'm not paranoid. I'm not too sensitive. Like Ava used to say whenever I questioned her distance, I'm just a man who finally stopped waiting for respect. The thing they don't tell you about walking away is that even when it's the right thing, it still hurts like hell. The first few weeks in the new apartment were brutal. The silence was loud, not the good kind of silence, peaceful, earned. No, this was the hollow kind. The kind that rattles in your bones when you realize someone you loved was never really holding your hand, they were holding you in place. Slept on the couch for the first week. Couldn't bring myself to build the bed alone. Scout paced it. Night whining at the front door like he was waiting for her to come home. That dog didn't understand betrayal. He just missed the scent of someone who used to feed him treats under the table. I went to work. I nodded through meetings. I hit deadlines. But inside, I was burnt out and gutted. I started therapy just once a week at first. The therapist, Dr. Harris, was this calm older guy who had this way of asking questions that made me realize how many lies I'd told myself just to stay. "Why do you think you needed to believe her?" he asked during our second session. I didn't know how to answer. Maybe because love makes you foolish. Maybe because I thought love meant forgiveness even when there was no apology. Meanwhile, Ava's world was falling apart. Jenna posted a vague but scathing announcement on their business page. Moving forward, I will be working independently and disassociating from past partnerships that no longer align with my values. Their biggest wedding contract vanished. Her name popped up on Reddit threads in the local event planning subreddit. Not by me, by clients. People who noticed her flakiness, the missed emails, the bad energy, she called me once. Number I picked up by accident, Evan. Please, can we talk? Her voice was cracked, not performative. Real. It caught me off guard. But I didn't say anything. Just let her speak. You don't understand what was happening. I was confused. Caleb, he made me feel seen, like I wasn't invisible. But it wasn't love, I swear. I didn't mean to hurt you. You were always too good to me. No, I ruined it. I miss you. I miss us. I miss the way you looked at me like I was worth something. That was the first time she ever admitted it. And I still didn't say a word. I hung up, because I wasn't hers to beg from anymore. As for Caleb, we haven't spoken since. He showed up at my old apartment once, pounding on the door like some frat boy with a grudge. But I'd already moved. Neighbors texted me a photo. He looked drunk, pathetic. Mutual friends started to pick sides quietly, of course. No one said it outright, but the invites stopped coming for them. Caleb lost a lot more than my referrals. Turns out, when people know you can sleep with your own brother's girlfriend, they stop trusting you with anything. But the worst part, the hardest part, is forgiving myself, for missing it, for ignoring the signs, for believing that loving someone hard enough could make them honest. There were nights I'd stare at the ceiling and remember all the little lies. It's the missing receipts, the sudden coldness, it's the forced laughter. And I'd wonder, who was I to her? A placeholder, soft place to land until someone cooler came along. But then something strange happened. I healed. Not all at once. Not in some cinematic montage of glow-ups and dating apps. No, it happened in pieces. In building the bed frame. Finally, in reactivating my Spotify and playing songs I used to avoid. In laughing, really laughing for the first time in months when Scout tripped chasing a pigeon and skidded into my lap. I even started running again, not to chase something or run from it, just because it made me feel alive. And then came the twist. 6 months after everything, I was at a logistics conference in Milwaukee. Big, boring event. Suit anti-crowd. I was presenting on freight optimization models. After my talk, a woman approached me, Olivia. She'd just launched a sustainable shipping startup. Smart, focused, confident. She asked a sharp question, then asked me to coffee. We talked for 3 hours, not about Ava, not about the past, about ideas, about goals, about how she refused to let one mistake define her startup. Just like I refused to let mine define my life. 3 weeks later, she offered me a consulting role. Said she needed someone like me to bring structure to the fire. That's when it hit. Maybe the next chapter of my life didn't start with rage or regret. Maybe it started with grace. It's strange how life breaks you just to rebuild you. Stronger, but not in the cliche way they write on coffee mugs or throw into Instagram captions. No, it's quieter than that, less cinematic. It's making your own dinner in silence and realizing you don't feel lonely. It's deleting a playlist you once cried through and smiling while you do it. It's walking past a jewelry store and not thinking about who you used to buy for. Don't hate Ava anymore. That's the hardest thing to admit. I don't think about her with rage or bitterness. I think about her like a lesson. Like a bridge I had to burn to finally learn how to swim. And Caleb, he taught me something too. That blood doesn't mean loyalty. That some people will envy your peace so deeply they'll destroy it just to feel seen. I stopped asking why they did it. Some questions don't deserve answers. What I do know is this. I'm not the same man I was when I found that bracelet. I'm not the guy who waits for love to hurt less. I'm the guy who learned to walk away before the damage became permanent. She thought I'd break, but I rebuilt, and here's the truth. I keep close now. She left with a bracelet. I kept my dignity. If you enjoyed my story, don't forget to like and subscribe for more real-life stories like this.